I'm going to tie a baitfish pattern that I use my electric wool to tie most of. Tied on a partridge Attitude Extra size 2, so it's a fairly small pattern. Ends up being around 2 inches long. Sometimes it's a little shorter, but for the most part that's where it ends up being. Using yellow olive marabou for the undertail, and seeing as how this is such a short streamer, you normally have to use a little more marabou than you would normally, just because the ends are so fine and you need more to make a little bit of body to it. So measuring it off the length of the hook. Marabou's can be a problem to keep under control when you're tying with it. So I like to wet it, and what I do, if I'm tying a couple dozen of these, I'll have a sponge that I wet that I can just dip my fingers onto instead of constantly licking my fingers. I'm going to take this rabbit strip and lay it on top of the marabou and have the hide of the strip end right about where the marabou stops. Once again, rabbit can be a problem to keep under control, so a little more water, 2 light wraps, pinch it, come straight down, keep pressure, 2 securing wraps, and then put a knot in it, and it won't go anywhere. I use a hair clip and strap it right onto my vise to keep it out of the way and under control. I'm going to be using some electric wool seaweed. It's like a light to medium olive. We'll just preen a little bit off. What I'll do is I'll come up through the middle of this and open my scissors up, and that creates a V. I'll slide that V over top of the back of the hook and tie that down. 2 wraps, secures it in. Cut away this. I cut away the tail end of that because I don't want it to get too thick, because we're looking for this to be a translucent appearance. So you put the next clump in right at the hook, don't go beyond the hook bend. Tie that in. Go 2 touching turns forward with each clump. And what we're looking to do is create a space between each tie-in, and that will give us the appearance of translucency when it's in the water because of those spaces. And we're going to taper this, so this one will be a little bit longer than the previous because we're toward the middle of the bottom of this at this point. So we're looking to just tie in the taper of the belly without having to use scissors to create it. Now we'll do one roughly the same length as the previous one, seeing as how we're in the middle. Snip off the tag end, touching turns. You can see how the bottom is starting to take shape. Put in another clump, roughly the same length. As the previous. Snip that off. We're at the eye of the hook, so what I'll do is I'll wrap back about the distance of the eye of the hook to give me room to tie down the rabbit fur and finish the head. So I'll take this and I'll preen this back, straighten everything out. I'll clear away the part of the strip I'm going to tie down. Again, wet my fingers, see how that gets everything out of the way. Pull this forward a little bit, maintain some tension on it. Keep tension on your thread. A couple of wraps. Put a keeping knot on there. When I cut this rabbit strip, I like to use a razor blade, because with a razor blade I can ramp the strip away and I don't have like a ledge formed when you can get when you use scissors to tie that off. Now for the front, I'm going to use a little bit of electric wool seaweed, dark seaweed actually, and I'm going to blend that with a little bit of raven, which is a black. We're not going to need very much black because the darker tones quickly overtake a lighter tone when you are blending colors together. So I'm going to measure this off to where this will come up just to where the color starts in the rabbit strip. And we're going to fold this over, so I'll measure it again to the front. Pinch that off. Then I'll tie this down in the middle of that clump. Roll it over. Get a little more of the belly color. And this only has to be a very short piece, shorter than you would think. Pinch wrap that, tighten it off, get the thread out of the way, bring all that back, a couple of wraps to secure everything where it needs to be. And what I'll do is I'll take comb that in, finish, cut that off. When I glue on the eyes, I'll go ahead and just throw them on my finger right here at the knuckle so they're handy to get to. Nice thing about where you're gluing these eyes down to is you're actually gluing it down to the hook that's covered in thread and the side of the rabbit strip hide, so it has a nice solid base to tie to. And you just give it a little pressure to keep it where it needs to be, tight to the hook. Just hold that a little bit. Normally 20-30 seconds and it's on there pretty good. When you pull away from it and the eye doesn't move, you're pretty much stuck on there pretty good. Another little dab on this side. This bottle is almost empty. It's getting hard to get out. Check to make sure we're even. I usually use a bodkin, but My bodkin is well out of reach right now. So we're going to just use the end of the whip finisher. Hold it on there good. And that is going to do it. There you have it. It's not very hard to tie. Looks great in the water. Guys, give it a try. We'll see you.